Look at that. Deer in the headlights. Wow. So let me give you a bit of background on this one because the tech company this guy works for has just responded, apparently. The tech company where the canoodling Coldplay couple work has launched a formal HR investigation into their moment of intimacy and viral fame. In a statement just released, the AI tech startup Astronomer said it was actively looking into the moment of intimacy between CEO Andy Byron and head of people Kristen Cabot. Quote, our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability. The board of directors has initiated a formal investigation into this matter, and we will have additional details to share very shortly. Neither of them have commented on their viral fame. As you just seen, they tried to hide when the kiss cam panned to them at Boston's Gillette Stadium on Tuesday night. Lip readers have since revealed their bashful reactions upon learning they'd been featured. Coldplay's frontman Chris Martin did them no favors, joking to the packed stadium of fans, they're either having an affair or they are very shy. Public records indicate that while both were married in the past, they now live separately from their spouses. Ah, okay, all right. It remains unclear how much, if anything, Astronomer knew of their closeness. The company has not clarified whether the pair still have jobs or they'll be placed on leave. And the statement reads, Astronomer is committed to the values and culture that have guided us since our founding. Our leaders are expected to set the standard in both conduct and accountability. The board of directors has initiated a formal investigation into this matter, and we will have additional details to share very shortly. Alyssa Stoddard was not at the event. No other employees were in the video. Andy Byron has not put out a statement. Reports saying otherwise are all incorrect. Well, that's weird because there is a statement, but is it a fake statement? Let's have a look, shall we? If what they're saying is correct, then this is a fake statement. But let's read it. I want to acknowledge the moment that's been circulating online and the disappointment it's caused. What was supposed to be a night of music and joy turned into a deeply personal mistake playing out on a very public stage. I want to sincerely apologize to my wife, my family, and the team at Astronomer. You deserve better from me as a partner, as a father, and as a leader. This is not who I want to be or how I want to represent the company I helped build. I'm taking time to reflect, to take accountability, and to figure out the next steps. Personally and professionally, I ask for privacy as I navigate that process. I also want to express how troubling it is that what should have been a private moment became public without my consent. If this is real, what a bozo. If you go out the house, you're getting filmed everywhere you go, not just by cameras on the streets, by passers-by. Go to a huge public gathering and expect privacy. That's, you should have dressed up in a disguise then, shouldn't you? There's no privacy anymore except for in your own home. And they're listening to you through your TV and your phone in your own home. There's no privacy anywhere anymore. If you watched that MK Ultra guest who was on earlier today, it was absolutely fascinating. If you missed that one, please check it out. He detailed everything, how they're changing our biochemistry. All right, so this fake letter continues. I respect artists and entertainers, but I hope we can all think more deeply about the impact of turning someone else's life into a spectacle. As a friend once sang, lights will guide you home and ignite your bones, and I will try to fix you. All right, let's get rid of that. What do you think, folks? Was that a fake note put out by the CEO as the company that's just released their statement has intimated? And if you think so, let me know in the chat. Let me get BMJ on the screen, our show manager, and get his thoughts. Are you there, BMJ? Let's see. I've not got my WhatsApp turned on. I forgot, didn't I? All right. BMJ, are you there? There's no audio coming in. I can't hear you. Have I got this? Yeah, I had it turned on earlier. BMJ, come in over. Are you there? Where are the call-ins? Where has the show manager gone? Oh, so he's not there. He's not coming in. All right. So perhaps he's gonna have to log back in. All right. Let me continue then. So Byron is one of 6 people on the Astronomer Board of Directors. The viral moment unfolded Tuesday night, and they were enjoying the show when the Jumbotron panned to them, with his arms wrapped around her waist, the pair swaying in unison to the music playing. But upon seeing themselves on the big screen, they panicked. BMJ, come in over.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and
Hello.
clear. Hello.
Good. Yeah, but my overall opinion is always one of outside the box. You know, I just always look at what is the bigger picture. And as I said to you
Yep.
before, you know, having a relative, my uncle passed away. He was on the plane on the 9/11 planes, and I always look at the bigger picture. You know, I think it's all a distraction. You know, it's all, you know how you say it keeps escalating and going on and on and on, and I just believe it's all like smoke and mirrors. You know, it's like a smoke screen. It's a distraction, isn't it, from what they're really doing? And what they're really doing, you know, you mentioned last time, is the depopulation and the medicine and the big pharma and stuff. So it's basically all a distraction, I believe. I really do. I think we're just pawns in a chess game, and you know, the 1%ers are basically just playing us like the pawns that we are, basically.
Well said. I've got a follow-up question for that, but someone's just asked if we can put a link out for people to come on the screen. I could certainly do that. I'll put a link in the live chat right now. If somebody wants to come on the screen and talk to us, you are welcome, just as you are welcome to call in from anywhere in the world, or call on the WhatsApp on the line. But there's the link in the live chat right now. So if anyone wants to call us, just come on the screen, pop on. We will, totally unfiltered. Just behave yourselves, though. Of course, community guidelines. You just said, BMJ, you lost an uncle on one of the 9/11 flights.
Yeah, that's right. My uncle Garnet Bailey.
What?
Yeah, he was an ice hockey player, a famous ice hockey player. He was best friends with Wayne Gretzky. They were on completely different teams, but they were like really good friends. And I think he was the second plane. If you just type in Garnet Bailey 9/11, you can see we got a call coming in. So I'm just going to mute for a second. I'll come back to you.
Yeah, go for it. Can't believe what I'm hearing. He lost an uncle on one of the 9/11 flights. We could do a show on that. That must have been really traumatic. Thank you,
Okay,
Katie Cat.
we've got Deborah on the line.
Hello, Deborah. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
Deborah? Is that a person or a toad noise? Deborah!
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going?
No Facebook. I mean, shame book, allegedly.
Oh, you got penalized.
180 days.
Oh, thank you, Zuckerberg.
Oh, well, he is CIA.
Indeed. What do you make of the 2 stories we're talking about this evening?
I think they need to keep private things private. Going to a concert was kind of naive, wasn't it? Everyone has
It's
a mobile these days.
almost makes me think it was staged. They knew it would happen just to get internationally famous.
Right, and I read in the chat that someone said that his wife was in the audience too.
What?
Could have been a setup so she could get some extra money, don't you think? CEOs make a lot of money these days, do they not?
We've got a few people have popped into. Yeah, indeed, I agree. There's some kind of scheme going on. We've got a few people have popped into the link through the. You want to come on the screen with us, Deborah? Are you okay to share the screen with a couple more people?
Go ahead.
All right, we've got Papa Chubby and we've got Igor.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, guys.
How are you, Shaun?
Where do you stand, Papa Chubby, on the stories we're talking about this evening?
The main thing that's grabbing me right now is the Coldplay story because it's just so far-reaching. Everywhere I look, someone's talking about it. I find the funniest part with his letter, to me, like the most unauthentic part, to be his statement about privacy, you know. And the fact that when you look at the original video, to the left, there's a really embarrassed looking lady to the left of the two of them. And apparently, I don't know if it's true, but you got me?
Yeah, we got you. Started
Don't
crackling,
John.
and we lost you. You're back.
Did I cut out, Shaun? Anyway,
Yeah, keep going. You're good. Keep going.
I mean, look, that lady, the third lady, is apparently a member of that company as well. So, I mean, imagine the spouses knowing that. I mean, people at their work knew and were actually going out with them as a couple, and then having the audacity to say, "You want privacy?" It seems so absurd to me. The letter is. I mean, I understand why he wrote it, and you could say he probably had to do something, but it's so inauthentic. He probably would have been better just shutting all his socials down and doing nothing. I don't think there's any expectation to privacy in that situation. Good Lord. And how funny is it that the lead singer, called them out for having an affair? Like he knew, huh? I mean, oh my God.
Deborah, were you trying to interject then?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's the whole thing's preposterous. There's a lot more, I think, some kind of deviant play to become internationally viral. Going out with someone like that in the first place in public, something's going to happen at some point. There is no privacy in the world anymore. It's total Big Brother on every street. There's cameras everywhere. TikTokers, YouTubers, kids just filming everything everywhere you go.
I'm married myself, and I know you are, Shaun. My wife and I, we stay together, you know, we don't, but if I was going to do that, I know there's like the old rule, you know, like if you're going to cheat, you go hundreds of miles away. You know, you don't, like, I can't imagine going to some place so public like that. I mean, never mind the camera. Like, what about just running into people? Or I would be nervous of people just spotting me and I'm not knowing they're spotting me. I would
That's why
never go.
That's why the whole story doesn't make sense. I agree with you totally. We've got Igor back. Let's see what Igor's got to say. Hello, Igor.
Am I on? Hello?
You are on. You are on, my friend.
All right. Hey guys, you had that show the other day about those guys in the Caribbean, and I didn't know if y'all knew that goes back to the Iran Contra stuff with Adnan Khashoggi, right?
Yeah, I interviewed Ari Ben Manash, who was incarcerated for Iran Contra. I interviewed him 6 years ago. We've had to make some adjustments to the video. It got banned, but we're bringing it back in the next couple of days, and he breaks it all down. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Robert Maxwell, Promise software, etc.
Yeah, so all that happened by 1987, that he was supposedly getting the gold from the Philippine government at that time. That's what he was investigated for after the Iran Contra stuff, and he gave up several buildings and what he was working on in Salt Lake, and then he moved on, and then we had all that stuff happen in the 80s, the Panama flight, And then we had the train accident at Chatham Junction. There's just lots of stuff that seemed to fall into place right after that time period, up until that 1991 key area where Donald Trump bought Adnan Khashoggi's boat, right?
Yes,
There you go.
absolutely. That's
Yeah.
part of the huge network that was handed down to Jeffrey and Ghislaine.
And then he sold that same boat to Prince Alaouid, who is the biggest shareholder of Twitter that got him elected, correct?
I believe so. And wasn't it the same prince that Epstein was advising about Elon Musk on possibly buying out X?
I mean, right? I mean, it's almost like they're almost interchangeable people. Some of those people, right? You know, especially on that side.
They're
So the
all
Kingdom
they all look
5KR is what they renamed the boat. Sorry to interrupt.
they've all got the same globalist agenda, and apparently they control every political party. And no matter who gets in power and promises us this, that, and the other, everything goes pro-globalist sooner or later.
Yeah, and they reprinted all that money from the Iran Contra on the Shah of Iran's U.S. Mint press, right? And that money ended up going back to Pablo Escobar, and then it was eaten by rats, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, all these people are trying to make these documentaries about Pablo Escobar's hidden money, and a lot of it was eaten by rats. Some of it went in water damage, but most of the assets, when that cartel was wound down, were incorporated into the Cali cartel. It was the Cali
Ooh.
cartel in liaison with some of Pablo's own men who formed Los Pepes, who ended up hunting Pablo down and assassinating him. Because I've interviewed Pablo's son, I've interviewed the son of the Cali cartel,
That's
and I've
great.
written
That's awesome.
I've written a book called Pablo Escobar's Story. It's 4 volumes long, and we got all that transferred from
Oh, I
Spanish
need to
because
order that. You have a book for that?
yeah, there's the Pablo Escobar Stories Parts 1, Part 2, Part 3 is published presently, but we got it all translated from Spanish because in the English-speaking world, it was the DEA are the good guys, the CIA are the good guys, Pablo Escobar is the bogeyman, and it was U.S. snipers who helped, eliminate Escobar. Absolute crock of shit. The CIA were up to their
Oh,
necks. The CIA were up to their necks in importing the white powder into the America. And when I interviewed Pablo Escobar's son, he was very poker faced, and the only time he cracked a smile was when I said to him, who was the biggest dealer, trafficker of the white? Was it your father or was it George H.W. Bush? And he cracked a smile and he conceded it was George H.W. Bush.
oh my God.
Hey,
Yeah,
Shaun.
I mean, and then he went, Jeff won the Powerball, the $85 million from the Oklahoma Powerball, and got the 30 million payout to his Zorro Trust. That's pretty interesting. And then the Queen's Bank money was being hidden with the Panama Papers. What was going on with that? Do you know?
Well, Sammy the Bull won a lottery as well. It's a way of transferring money tax free, I
Oh
believe.
yeah.
And it was researching the war on drug stuff, Escobar, that led me to Air America, Southern Air Transport, the airlines the CIA was using to bring the product in.
Oh yeah.
And Wexner and Epstein relocated those airlines to Ohio. So that's what brought me to the doorstep of Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like all these things end up like kind of interconnected with these guys because this is pre-Bitcoin. They had to invest in something, so they're investing in the Caribbean lucrative businesses of, tax-free income.
Absolutely, Igor. We've got 2 other people on the screen. I'm just gonna see if they'd like to interject at this point, if you want.
Sure.
Anyone else got anything to add to the conversation?
Shaun, I wanted to ask, Don Burnett in his book, he said that his brother is the one that actually shot and killed Pablo. What's your thoughts on that?
You're talking about Don Berner's book, Killing the Boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have read that one and I've studied it very intensively. So Don Berner was one of the principals in Los Pepes. So he did play a very active role. He was out on the day of the assassination with his brother Seed, and they both, I do believe, were at the property when Pablo was assassinated. Of course, Don Berners want to give credit to his family. No one knows for sure which bullets hit Pablo. Pablo's son believes that Pablo himself put one in his head. He did it. He sacrificed his life for his family. He was protecting them,
Oh no.
and he just moved himself out of the way. And so I'm leaning more towards Pablo felt trapped, and he put one in his head. And I do believe many people in Colombia believe that as well. But I can understand where Don Berner was coming from. Don Berner's book, Killing the Boss, does give a fascinating account of everything that went down that day from the perspective of the Pepes and the police they were working with. Once Pablo was executed, the police told Los Pepes, get the hell out of there, so that when the media came, they weren't to be seen working with a death squad. And the president of Colombia, he rolled out a number of police officers and said to the media, these are the guys who killed Escobar, give them the credit. And that's what happened in the aftermath.
Man.
Amazing.
Yeah, some of that stuff I don't know. Sorry, go on.
No, Shaun, I wanted to ask you, have you watched any? I mean, I think people would mostly consider them to be telenovelas, like the South American shows that are kind of like half soap opera, half crime drama, and they're usually centered around figures from the cartels. They did one on Pablo that was very, very popular in South America. It was made in Colombia called El Patron del Mal, the boss of evil. Have you seen that one, Shaun?
Yeah, I spent months watching it. There's hours and hours of content. And again, it gives it from the perspective of the survivors in Colombia. So rather than just have this American perspective, which was all that existed, I did try to incorporate some of the survivors' perspectives in my series of books as well. Because Pablo's own son, he got together with some of the high profile, the kids of high profile people Pablo had assassinated, and tried to make a movie about peace and reconciliation. And it was an absolute tragedy that these kids ended up, without their parents. Pablo was so ruthless. There was a plane that had some of his enemies on, and he just bombed the entire plane out of the skies. They put a kamikaze bomber on it, who I think had been hoodwinked into getting on it, didn't know what he was carrying, and they just blew the entire plane out of the sky.
Yeah, at that period, yeah, he was just blowing up everything, right? I thought El Patron del Mal was more entertainment than it was historical document, and I'm pretty sure it was based on a book, and Spanish language book. I don't think it's been translated to English. There's some other. I've watched some other really interesting shows though down there. There's another one I watched, which is more from the point of view of Popeye from Popeye, his one of his number one sicarios, and that's based on a book that Popeye wrote. And I'll tell you something, Shaun. If even half of what he says is true, it's still an amazing story, like worthy of a movie. I mean, if even half of it's true. What happened after Pablo passed to Popeye, going to prison and everything that he encountered after is incredible. It's incredible. It's like Hollywood couldn't even make a movie that great.
That goes in
Yeah,
the Bond series.
Popeye got out of prison and became a YouTuber and created some enemies and ended up unalived. He was outspoken about the government corruption and stuff with the cartel, and I think they just shut him up. So if you look at the original, he was quite a prolific hitman. Pablo Escobar's son doesn't like him. He's written several books. I've read his books and I've watched all of his stuff and the documentaries about him. But the guy I'd like to interview is the guy who ended up in Germany, one of the principals of the Medellin cartel, Carlos Leda, because he's still alive, and I don't think he's done much.
I thought
And
Maybe it's a different faith now. Who knows? Do you know?
he's half German, so he
Okay.
ended up back in Germany, and his story alone should be turned into a movie. He was like a revolutionary guy, came out of nothing, doing these big speeches and set up his own world, really. But he was berserk on the white powder himself, became extremely paranoid, always shooting off guns. There was a party actually that Pablo had hosted, and Carlos Leda showed up with a female, and somebody else, I think, was either hitting on her or asking her for the white powder.
Well,
And Carlos Leda got really paranoid, and this was one of Pablo's hit guys, and Carlos assassinated him at Pablo's property. So there was a dilemma because Pablo had to show that he stood up for his men. But Carlos was high in the cartel. He'd come down. His power was rapidly declining. But
he jumped the
Carlos
gun.
got arrested not long after that. Pablo allowed him to live, but he got arrested not long after that. Got hunted down. But yeah, Carlos Leda should be interviewed definitely.
Yo, yeah, I thought he was gone. I thought he had passed in prison. I don't know why. He's the one that owned that island famously, right?
Yeah, it was the stepping stone, the island in the Bahamas, where they just basically set up a FedEx service of the white powder into America. And that island, because Carlos was half German, he
Never say
terrified
Cartagena.
all of the people off the island. He brought over all of these German bodyguards with Doberman pincers and Alsatians and fully automatic weapons, and went all over the island. And there was one person who wouldn't leave. And in the end, in the beginning, there was the pretense he would show up and say, "Look, I'm a businessman. How much do you want for your property?" And a lot of the guys left. But towards the end of it, he was just going to these guys' doors, saying, "I'm going to kill you and your whole family unless you leave. You've got so many days to leave." And there was one stubborn guy who wouldn't leave, and he gave his story. I put that in one of my books. And
he's alive.
yeah,
Hi, Shaun.
he's alive. Yep.
We got Liam on the line.
All right, guys. What we're going to do, because we've had you guys on for a while right now.
Sure.
I'm
Thanks,
going to say
Shaun.
goodbye to you guys. We're going to bring Liam in.
All right, been a
And,
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Deborah, as well. Igor, Papa Chubby. We'll speak
All
later.
right.
Thank you.
Real true. Bye.
All right. So we have got Liam on the line. Liam, how's it going?
How you doing, Shaun, man? Big fan, mate.
Really appreciate you calling in. Thank you. What do you think of the subjects at hand this evening?
What about Trump and the Epstein files?
Yeah, so we've been discussing the cover-up, and Rupert Murdoch is now getting sued by Trump, and we've been discussing this idiot at the Coldplay concert who got busted on the big jumbo camera with his head of human resources snogging.
I don't know about the other stuff, but the thing with Trump and with Murdoch and stuff, I think it's like really. I think we live in like really cool times, man. Like it's such a lens into like what's going on with Elon Musk saying about Trump being in the Epstein files and then this coming out. What do you reckon? I reckon it's an interesting time to be alive, really, with alternative media and stuff.
So when people have asked me historically of what I think of politicians, I've always said you've got to be a psychopath to rise to the top of politics. You've got to be compromised. And the people who get to the top, even if they've got good intentions, like JFK, if they go against the deep state, they're going to end up like JFK. So there's an agenda. The politicians are just intermediaries. They don't have the real power. And it's like we saw with the bombing of Iran. It was like Saddam Hussein 2.0, weapons of mass destruction. Same old lie. We haven't seen the war in Ukraine get ended within 24 hours. In fact, they're rearming Ukraine right now to keep escalating that. I'm betting there's going to be another bombing of Iran by either America or Israel. They're going to just come up with another phony pretext because they speak to us all like we're fools. And when Trump came in and said, I'm signing all these orders about, executive orders, freedom of speech, anti-woke, all that stuff, That was great. That was
What do you
great.
reckon has got to Trump? Because like all the way up to like when you got like nearly got assassinated, right? There was something going on there, and that all got completely just wiped out. No one knows what's going on, and then it seemed like he was on our side, and he was saying all this mad stuff, and then suddenly he's completely gone like just completely U-turned and gone the other way, and it's so bizarre to see, man. What do you reckon's going on there?
I believe that even if he had good intentions, it's been explained to him, this is how it is. These are the powers that be that are above you, and you're just basically someone who's got to take orders, or else you're going to end up like JFK. And we know, the wealthiest banking families in the world. We know how they operate, through which intelligence agencies. Ari Ben-Manesh is going to come on and talk about the Mossad and the CIA and how these orders come down from the top and how the world is run. There's just this giant network of globalist banking interests that control big oil, big pharma, military industrial complex. And if you act in a way that goes against those interests, or if you try to expose the captains of industry that run those interests, then heaven help you. Because if it came out, all of the files, all of the videos, all the hard drives, everything that went on in Jeffrey Epstein's properties, if all that information was released tomorrow, the public will be grabbing the pitchforks, the financial markets would collapse, all faith would be lost in all these pretenders who are purporting to care about kids and uphold the law and justice, because they are absolutely psychopathic, evil profiteers, and we are mere cattle to them.
Do you feel like with everything what's going on in the world at the minute, do you reckon we already have entered like World War III? But I'm not looking at the sense everyone looks at like old wars like World War I, World War II, or whatever. But like the way we like so rely on trades and all this kind of stuff. Like China's already using we're using proxies, and like China's using TikTok against us and dumbing our nation down. Do you reckon like that's going on already? And everyone's just gearing up now, like 5%. Natives now spend 5% or whatever. Everyone seems like everyone's just getting ready for war, man. It seems like.
So the two real targets of the proxy wars in Ukraine and Iran are China and Russia. Now, if you go back to the Biden administration, when Starmer was slobbering all over Biden, begging him to, do the long-range missiles into Russia, because Russia had expressed that is a red line. We then saw the authorization of that. And now we've got countries like Germany saying they're going to provide these missiles that are going to hit the Russian heartland. So all it's going to take is some of these warmongering countries, these European countries run by these freaks, to hit somewhere like Moscow or somewhere deep in Russia and cause mass civilian casualties. And Russia's going to say enough is enough. This is not Ukraine fighting Russia. This is NATO trying to destroy Russia, and they're going to take action against.
Yeah. Sorry, Shaun. To me, it looks like they're trying to weaken Russia by it seems to me. Because Jeffrey Sachs seems like he's on the ball with this. It just seems like to me like America after the Second World War, they didn't really think about what was going on with China either. Like they're always concentrating America and Russia on each other. And then the BRIC countries have started rallying up and then trying to get off the petrodollar. And I saw something I was reading, because I have a bit of crypto myself and stuff, and there could be a way in for them over there. They could start trading it on different blockchains in the future of different currencies. And America, I can't see NATO letting that happen with geopolitically what's going on over there. I can't see them letting that go. Do you know what I mean? I think just leads to World War, really.
So every
Epstein's
war,
definitely involved in all this stuff as well with Mossad and that, I reckon.
every war is done for an expropriation of assets. If you look at the assets of Ukraine, how they were divided up between BlackRock and the banksters, they are a fraction of the assets of Russia. If the globalists can destabilize Russia, carve that country up, divide it amongst themselves, have some compliant leader, regime change, some drunk like Yeltsin who was selling all the assets off. They want to restore that. That is the ultimate prize for the globalists, is to expropriate all of the assets of Russia, divide it amongst themselves, and they don't care who dies in the process because it's not their kids fighting these wars. These wars aren't happening in their countries. It's the innocent people of Ukraine who are being blood sacrificed. It's the Russians who are being blood sacrificed. And the globalists are just sat on the side, licking their lips while all these young people die so they can potentially make these trillions while taking the whole world to risk of World War III and nuclear annihilation so they can scurry off to their bunkers like what Zuckerberg has got.
Very interesting. It's what a time to be alive, man. What a time to be alive.
Well, it's the same with Iran. Look at the oil resources of Iran. Look at the project for the new American century. You know, Iran was the last country on that list. Even Brzezinski and Kissinger.
Surely that's got to do with where they are situated in the world and where even like 2 years ago, no one saw where ChatGPT, no one saw where AI was coming from 2 years ago, even really clever scientists and stuff. And that's just come out of nowhere. And then you've got all this alternative stuff, like with obviously it's not good for us, but you can make money off of it with crypto and stuff like that. But once it all does turn to that, like even like my friend's got a new car at the minute, and if he's driving along, it'll just bong when it goes over 20 miles an hour. But I always take the mick out of him and say, how long will it be until that car will actually just drive you home and tell you you've been a naughty boy and you were in like some Orwellian state. And we're in a social score system just very before our own eyes. We just literally just blindly walking into this Orwellian state, and this feels like to me this is the beginning of it. But I feel like that's my opinion anyway. But
well, we're seeing gold and cryptos creep up, and they are considered safe haven alternatives to the dollar. There was a time when the dollar used to be backed by gold. And now the dollar is just a ginormous pyramid scheme. And the threat to that, as identified by Brzezinski in his book, was the alliance of Russia, China, and Iran. That was the biggest threat to US hegemony. So there are these geopolitical objectives to keep Iran, China, and Russia divided and conquered. But what's happening is these proxy wars are just pushing them closer together because the US used to be such the dominant economy. I remember when I arrived in America in the early 1990s, and the commentators on the financial channels used to say, America's the 800-pound gorilla. The whole world has to trade with us. We can set the terms. But what we're seeing now is the decline of empire. Look at the rise of China. Look at the rise of India. Look at the rise of BRICS. So you've got the empire now desperately trying to cling on to its power. And one of the main support systems for that power was the pyramid scheme called the US dollar. The US dollar now, all it's backed up by is a story. And when the cracks appear on the surface of that story, which they already are, you've got Japan, you've got China threatening to unload all the US debt they own. And if they did that abruptly, there would be a huge collapse in the bond market. And if the bond market collapses, up go interest rates, and down goes the stock market as well. And that's Trump, one of the main things for his popularity now with the wealthy classes is the maintaining stock market pricing, because he shit himself when he brought the tariffs in and the stock market collapsed, what's now called the Trump slump. He's got the stock market back up. So one of his ploys to keep the business community happy is to keep things smooth with the stock market, and that requires the dollar fallacy, to be maintained.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then we obviously got all the AI stuff coming in with all the jobs and stuff like that, because obviously what you're going on about, like when you went over to America, that was the start of neoliberalism, wasn't it? Like, when did you go over to America?
1991.
79 Thatcher and stuff, like, because we see it in our country now, like, do you know what I mean? The baby boomers are like, obviously it was all good for them when they could buy their houses cheap or whatever, but then I'm 29 and I'm here and I'm on a good wage, but I live in Oxford, but I can't afford to live, and it's like, where has that wealth gone? Like, as well, do you know what I mean? It's like we've gone into this like debt-based society. We've just been trapped in this debt. It seems like there's this abundance of debt. Like, it's like that, man.